Hi, in this session, we're going to cover a tool that really changed the trajectory of my success, and I know it's going to do the same for you. We already know that building community is such an important piece of the puzzle in order to achieve our final outcome. And here's the thing, I thought that after building a community of 700 young entrepreneurs, and there's a video of that below that you can check out to get more of a context. What do these micro communities look like? I thought that after building a community of 700 young entrepreneurs, that hey, I know exactly what to do and I can replicate it elsewhere. And so the second micro community that I started to build was for education. And I thought, okay, let's run free events for teachers. As this is the community I'm serving, this is my target market. So we ran a bunch of events for teachers. And whilst we had a lot of teachers attend, you see, the decision maker in a school, the person who approves or rejects, is usually the principal. And before I learned this tool that we're about to cover, for a year, I kid you not, the maximum amount of principals we ever got at one of our events was one. And recently, using this tool and implementing it, it was like an aha moment, because just by implementing it and following it step by step, we were able to grow that number from one principal registered to just under 100 principals registered. This is mind-blowing because you want to serve a community. It's like you keep hacking away at things. It's like you're riding a bike and you keep falling down, and you finally find that way to keep balance and to stay on the course to the destination you want to get to. It really is. It makes you smile. So the name of this tool, and we're going to use it for our own micro community as well. The name of this tool is called the Value Proposition Canvas. The Value Proposition Canvas. What is your proposal of value to your target market or the people you're serving? What is in it for them for interacting with your micro community? Now, I know this sounds a little bit, oh, what's a value proposition canvas? So let's dig deep. And first, I'll show you what an end result looks like. And then we'll come to looking at the actual canvas. I'm going to share my screen in just a second. Perfect. Now, I've included a video. Do have a quick read of this. This is for a recent event that we organized for principals. I've also included a video, which will be linked below, but just have a read of this. Give you 10 seconds. A couple more seconds. So you can see here that it is so clear that if a principal were to attend this micro community, the value, the benefit that they would get. For example, you can tell here that it'll end their admin work over here. You can tell here it's all about that higher reserve of energy, and here it's all about handling conflict straight away. So if a principal asks, why should I invest my time? Why should I care? Why should I come to this micro community? The answer is so clear. There's no question at all. And at the same time, the way we're able to create such great solutions is by understanding what are the specific problems that they face. So over here, it's again, the mountains of admin, always having to put out fires, having a never-ending to-do list, not being able to switch off, feeling overwhelmed and stressed. These are specific problems that we got from principals. And it wasn't guessing. I didn't come up with this out of a hat. There's a framework to make sure that if a person in your micro community, a potential member of your micro community, your target market, the people that you're focusing on, if they have to think about why should I care, why should I invest my time and come to this micro community, the answer has to be so clear and so specific and so full of value that it's a no-brainer. So that's why we were able to go from one principal to almost 100. And principals are really busy people, okay? They literally run organizations which have millions, if not tens of millions of dollars under assets and hundreds members of staff. They are hectic CEOs. And so for them to really take time out of the day, it needs to make sure that the value is 100% there. And using the value proposition canvas, we were able to come to this structure. And so now we're going to walk through how you can do it for yourself as well, how to make sure that once a person in your micro community who is the target market sees your marketing, sees your event, sees your micro community, they are 100% excited to invest their time and join it and at least give it a go. Before we move on, understand that below there are also some links to say how does this written format translate into a video. Because as you can imagine, end game, we're going to come up with all this material for you to make your marketing as easy as possible and results and success as fast as possible. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through the value proposition canvas, and be sure to pay attention just because you'll have to fill out one yourself as well. Also linked below is a template just so you can see the value proposition canvas. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to share my screen again. Perfect. So right now you should be able to see on my screen, it says value proposition and customer profile. Do take notes. So over here, let's not worry about this blue part first. Let's concentrate on the pink part. There are 3 parts, and we'll be populating this for our own micro community. So for customer jobs, this is what does your ideal micro community member, what does your target customer, what do they do? So for example, if you're starting one on medical researchers, they have to write grants, they have to write compliance, they have to get through ethics, they have to publish in journals, they have to make their research understandable to the world, they have to manage multiple reports at the same time, they have to manage their time, they have to be able to, somehow express what they do to normal people, at a dinner party. They actually have to do the research by themselves. They have to get good research done in terms of background research, and the list goes on. So what are the things that your customers do? That's an example there of medical research. Another example would be of somebody who wants to, so film students who want to start their own agency, their own film company. They have to get clients, they have to do the invoicing, they have to get the tax right, they have to manage their time, manage the projects. How do they have to edit, they have to film, they have to set up, they have to get their contracts in place. There's so many things that they have to do. In my example, there was the principals. So they have to lead the team meetings. They have to do a lot of compliance and HR and safety work. They actually have to inspire people to have a culture change. They have to do a lot of reporting. They have to handle crazy parents. Sometimes there's a PR nightmare. If something goes crazy on social media, they have to do that. They have to intercept at emergencies. They have to make sure that that the learning is going well. There's so many different things. So customer jobs is really about saying, what is it that my customer has to do in their position? That's customer jobs. Now this one is gains. This one is pains over here with the surge, fish, and this is about what is annoying, what frustrates them about their job, about their position, about what they do. So what really pains them? For example, with medical research, it could be that they're always having to apply for grants, or they can't find grants, or they find it hard to translate what they do into language that everyday people can use, or having to juggle different research projects at the same time can be really hard, or they find it hard to move up the hierarchy and how to actually manage a lab. For, what was the other one? A video person. They might find it that they get one-off projects, but they don't have recurring income. So it doesn't give them stability, and they're always chasing a job. They don't know actually how to make a sale because they love doing the creative stuff. Maybe they love the video, but they hate to edit, and they find they're doing all their time editing. Social media can be a little bit confusing, especially because they're from a film background, not a social media background. All these sort of things. They don't know how to have their contracts. What the hell do they do at tax time? For principals, it's crazy parents. It's, eating at them. It's a never-to-ending to-do list. Remember, we had this list before? I said never-ending to-do list, overwhelm of stress, so many emails piling up, crazy parents, never being able to switch off. These were the exact pains that principals faced. So the question is now, for you, what pains do your customers face? Customers doesn't mean they give you money, but the people we want to get as part of your micro community, what pains do they face? And obviously, it's a lot easier when you are your target customer. So let's say you're a film student, you know the pains. but we'll definitely talk about at the end of this how you can go out and populate this so it's specific. So it's not just guessing, but you've actually done research and gotten stuff. But for now, just on top of your head, writing down what are the different jobs that my customer does and what are the frustrations they face. So just take a while, pause this video, and scribble down some notes. So hopefully now you've paused this video. It's only, once you apply things that you reap the benefit. You can have a seed, but you actually need to plant it. So we talked about customer jobs, we've talked about pains, and now we're going to talk about gains. So gains this has to do with, if it was a perfect world, what would the customer's situation look like? What would the target market situation look like? So for example, and these are often the reverse of pains, but could be a couple more things. So for example, for a person running a video agency, it could be a stable amount of clients. It would be that they could focus on what they loved, be it filming or editing. It could be that they had ready-to-go templates for contracts and tax and things like that. It could be that they worked on projects that really excited them. It could be that business was coming to them. They weren't always happy to make a sale. For principals, it's that they get to switch. When they go home, they don't bring the stress of the office with them. They get to be fully present with their loved ones. It's that when there's a crazy parent or a conflict or situation, they don't get frazzled. They know exactly what they need to do so that it doesn't drag on. It's handled quickly. It's that instead of having a huge amount of interruptions, they make their staff more independent so they can focus on what work they need to do and such. For medical researchers, it could be that, they get to juggle. They make sure that all their research is going on at the same time. They're getting better grant funding. They're going up their career faster. They have a mentor. What is it that best case scenario looks like for your target market? And this is really what you want to scribble down next in the gains. Perfect. So what we should be able to see so far is that we have the customer jobs. Number one, customer jobs. What is it that our target market does regularly? The pains. What's frustrating about it? What do they dislike about it? And the gains. If it was a perfect world, what would it look like? What would the reality be like? And so now you scribble down, you have all this great information, and you're really creating a persona. You're understanding what does your customer look like. And this is just the first step. For me in principals, I think really they're the undervalued heroes of our society, along with teachers. And I have the blessing of having breakfast, lunch, and dinner with them. I know what shirts they wear. I know what they're going to order. And it's just so beautiful. I know them so deeply. And so I understand that now you might be guessing a couple of things without that deep understanding. But just do your very best. And we'll talk about how to get that deep understanding in a way that's short, quick, and easy. Okay? So now that we've created that first side of the value proposition canvas, we're now going to talk about the other side. But before we do that, let me remind you of what that is. So the value proposition, this means, imagine you're proposing to a girl or to a boy. What is your proposal? What are you showing them that, yes, these are all your problems and this is what you want to get, your gains, but how does our solution, how does our micro community solve those problems? So the first one, the products and services, for you, this is pretty simple. It's a micro community. Let's start off with it's an event, okay? It can translate into an online community, but for now, let's just say it starts off with an event. So that's simple. Now the pain relievers, see it looks like Panadol, and the gain creators. Pain relievers, gain creators. Let's go back to the example we had used earlier. So you can see over here that tried and tested specific tools. This is my product, and you can tell that all of this is taking away the pain of admin and interruptions. It's giving the gain of a high reserve of energy, of reinvigorating the joy when you started teaching. That's creating a gain. And easy frameworks on how to handle conflicts and put out fires quickly. That's creating a gain. So it's very specific. You see how all of this maps to all of this? It's just a clear thing. It's like, a mentor of mine, Jack and Ryan, they gave me a great piece of advice. It's like if you're going to Subway. It's like if you're going to Subway and you say, you want this sort of bread and you want this sort of sauce and this meat and this filling and this seasoning, and then they give it to you. They give it to you in the form of a sandwich. It's kind of odd if by the time they make the sandwich and say, this is the perfect sandwich for you, you say, I don't want the sandwich anymore. It's just not accepted. So basically, in the first step, we're understanding exactly what your customers want in their sandwich. And in the second step, we're just building the sandwich for them. So in terms of the value proposition canvas, what does this look like? You can see here that it says pain relievers and gain creators. What are you relieving their pain of? Are there specific templates for the video agency person to have contracts and tax receipts and things like that? Are there specific marketing tools they can use for their social media? For the principal step-by-step frameworks on how to handle conflict? Gain creators. This is basically the same thing, but it's going for pleasure, not pain. So not avoiding pain, but getting pleasure. That's a really interesting saying that people do things for two reasons, either to avoid pain or to get pleasure. Epicurus, the Greek philosopher, started this thought. If you think about a child starting for an exam, the same one child could be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to fail. I don't want to be a disgrace to my family. And another child, the same exam could be, I'm so excited to do well and really show the world what I'm made of. Same thing, pain or pleasure. So really, is your product or your service, is your micro community, your gain creators, what are you offering that is providing gain, and what are you offering that is relieving pain? Now, in the video that I've provided as an example, this will make things a lot clearer. So I'm going to advise you to go ahead and watch that, and it'll make sense like that. Also, in the written text that we provided, it makes it very clear how to set that out. But here's the thing. You might be wondering, me or you, what if you don't have the knowledge? What if you don't have the expertise? What if you don't have the wisdom to provide that pain relief or create that gain? And here's the best thing. And what if you don't have the credibility? Here's the best thing. Once we know exactly what the pains are and the gains are, we just have to find somebody who has a solution, and we just become the bridge between our target market and the solution. And because we are the community connector, people place us of value and opportunities become abundant. So now I'm in a position with principals, having trained so many tens of thousands of people in multiple countries, where myself, I can provide the solution. But back in the day, there was a year and a half, 2 years where I was never the speaker at the events. I would get a speaker, get a panel together. I was just the MC, because these people had the solutions, these people had the problems, and I was just bringing them together. And we'll talk about how to get these speakers on board and panelists on board. But the first step is to find out exactly how are we serving our community, and what sort of speakers and panelists, what sort of solution are we looking for. So there are going to be some more instructions. The next step now is really for you to go ahead and populate and fill in and scribble all your ideas for the pains, gains, and customer jobs, and how you can relieve that. Again, start off just with your own experience, with your own knowledge. But as you know, with any experiment, if you only have a sample size of 1, that's pretty risky. So in another video, we'll cover how can you go out there and how can you extract from people in your target market specifically what they're looking for, what gains they face, and what pains they face, and what gains they want. So for me, for example, I told you with the principals, I had long conversations over lunch, over dinner, and really understanding. And that's why my language can be so specific. It's literally the language that they use. It's like making the sandwich, remember? You just take their order and make it. And that way you make sure that with your micro community, you're actually serving them. There's this really interesting concept about, people who go to Africa or go to a third world country and do a service project and doesn't actually meet the needs of the community. This is making sure that when you serve the community, you're actually adding value to them. You're actually making their lives better. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to need to have so many lunches and dinners. No, mine are very long because I generally enjoy just catching up with these people as friends as well and building that relationship. But in your instance, you can literally do one of these in 15 minutes. And if you did a 15-minute phone call a day, if you chucked it whilst you're on a tram or on a walk or in a phone call in a car, you literally in 10 days, you'd have 10 pieces of information, and that's about what you want to aim for, 10. All right, so stay tuned to the next video about how to get all that information and that wisdom and that insight. But just to summarize what we've done today, so we've covered that. I've given an example of what a micro community looks like. You can watch that in the linked video. That's one. Number two, an example of what the marketing for a micro community looks like in both written format and in a video format. That's also linked. That's two. Number three, we talked about the value proposition canvas. We talked about customer jobs, talked about gains, talked about pains, and how you can be the bridge between what your community needs and the way to provide for that need. And so you can see now that we want to make sure that by following this, your life is going to be so much easier, because you won't have to try so hard to convince people to come to your micro community, because you would have done this work now. You would have set the foundation, planted the seed. Because when you tell them what in the micro community, they'll be like, wow, this is exactly what I need. So of course, it's your life and your decision how much you want to put into this. But the more you put in now, the much easier it'll be later, because it's just going to be giving them the sandwich that they already have in their head that they want to order. Thanks for being such a champion, and I hope your day is full of joy.